Welcome home to USA Global TV and Radio, a place where dreams take flight, with authentic storytelling, diverse perspectives and meaningful conversations, where global stories unite and bridges are built beyond all borders. Discover world-class education, entertainment, hope and inspiration. Together, we're building bridges worldwide. Subscribe to our channel, USA Global TV. Download our app, USA Global TV. Be our guest or join our team. Visit usaglobaltv.com. Thanks to our founder and executive producer, Dr. Jacalyn KERBECK. Music score by Yeffy Tang from Cloud Road Music. Voiceover artist Mike Porter. Creative direction by Paul Garcia. USA Global TV and Radio. Your home for global connection. All rights reserved. This video and its contents are the exclusive property of USA Global TV and Radio. Unauthorized use, duplication or redistribution in any form is strictly prohibited.
You've made a decision. You're ready to move forward. You're completely and totally psyched up, and your body doesn't respond. Maybe you've decided that today you're going to start going for a walk, and you go to take a walk and it doesn't happen. Maybe you have been bedridden for a long time and you decide, I'm going to will myself to get out of this bed, and it doesn't happen. Is that a failure when our body is saying one thing and our mind is saying something else? We're going to discuss that today on A Woman's Prerogative here at USA Global TV and Radio. Joining me is my dear friend, mentor, and colleague. She is a day ahead of us in another world, in another season in Australia. Let's welcome Mariska du Preez to the show. Hello, Mariska. Good to have you.
Hello. It is wonderful to be back. And I am luckily not on a different planet. Same planet, but on the other side of it.
That's right. The other side of the world, which, by the way, people fly over there from the States all the time. I just had somebody speak to me at one of the conferences, the sessions, and said, hey, have you ever been to Australia? And I said, no, my friend's there. He's like, well, why haven't you gone? I said, well, it's so far. He's like, I'm going back there myself. And so we went to the airport together, and sure enough, that's where he flew back to. So I think where there's a will, there's a way. But this topic today is something that you brought up. And I think for some of us, there might be times in life when we make a commitment to do something and our body is not responding the way that we would like it to. And so therefore we can get into a dark place feeling like our body has failed us. And that can lead to circumstances that are not typically positive. So what were you thinking when you created this topic?
Wow. One of the things that happens to me, and I don't know whether you've experienced this before, Dr. Jacalyn, is that sometimes from time to time, yes, I will go, I need to, I don't know, work on my business today. I have to do these certain things. And then my body doesn't want to do that. So I start to procrastinate and I do all sorts of other things. My attention doesn't want to stay with the thing that I'm busy with, whatever the process that pops up, right? So for me, it's more of a, well, where did I say yes and didn't really check in whether I do have energy in that space at that moment. And that's why I was thinking about this topic, where my mental processing says, yes, this is ticking all the boxes. And my body's going, no, it's not ticking all my boxes.
Absolutely. So with what you just described, what are your thoughts about whether or not there's something in this example, there's something inside you that doesn't actually want to do this, as opposed to your body saying, no, I don't want to. Subconsciously, there's something going on saying, I don't want to do that. Maybe I'm afraid. Maybe it's imposter syndrome. We could go on and on with possibilities, but is that something that you might consider with what you described?
Well, yes, that would be something that I would consider with what I described. I also think in our society at present, in any case, from what I've observed, is we have a tendency to override ourselves a lot. Right. We are so focused on the mental processing, this makes logical sense. This has been thought through ad nauseum sometimes. that we don't really tap into ourselves. And the body's a great way of doing that, and just tapping into what is actually happening. We want to use AI for, I've had a conversation yesterday at a training for AI specifically. And one of the things that the person wanted to know was, well, how can we actually bring it into the room to analyze things in real time? Now, it's possible, right? I don't think people are quite happy with being recorded all the time yet. So it is a possibility for AI to do this. But my question is, you can already do it. You can do it. We can all do it. But we have numbed ourselves so much that we don't. So why do you want to? You are the only person between you and AI that can actually smell the rain. Why do you want AI to tell you how rain smells? Explain that to me, because I don't get it. So that, I think that's for me where I'm thinking, well, I'm saying yes, logically it makes sense. My brain is overriding all the rest of the things, and it's saying, yeah, this is a brilliant thing to do. I'm listening to all the advice out there. I'm listening to all the experts, right? But maybe my body is going, no, we're not supposed to do this. For whatever reason, I'm picking up on other signals potentially that my brain doesn't even know how to interpret, because I've switched myself off right here. There's like a valve. It's like head think, brain, body brain is like, not interested in it. So that's sort of what I'm seeing. How about you, Dr. Jacalyn?
Well, I appreciate you sharing that. I think when it comes to AI, I look at it from the perspective of it saves me a lot of money from hiring people to do certain jobs. Does it make mistakes? All the time. In fact, yesterday, once again, I had a little conversation and I said, if I were actually paying you money, even though I'm paying for a subscription, you would be on notice, because you make so many mistakes because you don't actually take the time to analyze what's being asked. And by the time I hit enter, you are going, and you haven't had, how could you possibly have read every nuance of what it was that I wrote? Because I literally just hit enter and now you're coming up with an answer. And so it wrote back to me and said, you're correct. I'm just using information that's already out there. And so I wrote, well, if I wanted to do that, I would just do it myself. So I accept the fact that there are limitations, but at the same time, AI is so good for doing task-related things. And it reminds me back when, and I've mentioned this before in reference to AI, when I was in corporate, we had a CRM program that was installed and everyone had to learn how to use it. And people who have been with the company for a long time were complaining they couldn't stand it. Why do we have to put this information in there? But the truth is, the company that employs us, they own the information. Even though we're making the sales calls and we're visiting with the clients, they're actually their clients because we're getting paid to do it. So I was more than happy to put the information in there because it made it much easier to find, and instead of going through notebooks and things. So what I'm saying to you is that maybe if you change your perspective and look at it as a tool, AI is a tool, and it's not for everything and it's not for everyone, but it sure does save time and money when it comes to doing mundane tasks.
I agree. I absolutely agree. AI it's a wonderful tool. So in what I said, don't get me wrong, I'm not dishing it as I don't use it at all, right? It's more of a, if I'm going to use a hammer for working on something, I want to use the hammer correctly. I don't want to use a hammer when I want to cut a piece of steak. It's not going to work, right? My steak's going to be fairly flat and unevenly, most probably hammered through. So not the right place to use it. So using it, not the problem. Using it correctly, yes. And then my addition to that is, as a society, we have gone into using our brains there's like a penthouse built in our head, right? We use our heads for thinking about anything and everything. But there's a difference between thinking about the thing and actually feeling the thing, experiencing the thing, being in the thing. A visceral experience of it is so different. And we know this through science. They actually tested people and said, think about playing a trombone. Right. Now, if you have never played a trombone, the areas in your brain that actually lights up is the ones associated with language. Because you are thinking about the word trombone, what you have read about a trombone. You have no visceral experience of actually playing a trombone. You don't, right? The body doesn't know how it works. But if you take the exact same question and put the machines on somebody that has actually played the instrument, there's a wide network that actually lights up. And you can see that different things is being activated. The muscle memory is activated. Some of the creative spaces gets activated. So there's a very, very big difference between thinking about the thing and actually being able to do, experience, feel the thing. And I think that's the nuance that I want to bring into we have said yes because cognitively it sounded like a good idea. We perceived it as oh yeah, this ticks all the boxes idea. But we haven't actually felt it. We haven't actually checked in with our body. Does my body think it's a good idea for the experiences that I have had so far on this planet? Right? No, we just cut ourselves off there. It's like the head does all the executiveness, and we don't check in with the rest of the system. And guess what? You actually have a lot more in the rest of your system that gives you information to make good decisions, but we don't use it. We just don't. And that, to me, is a bit sad.
There's a lot to consider in what you just said. I think part of it could be that for many people across the world, there's a lot going on. There's a lot of hatred. There's a lot of anger. I see it all the time. And it is exhausting. It is so exhausting to have to see all the negativity in the world. Even when we do some shows, people will post comments. And I think to myself, and I've said this before, really, you have nothing else to do but post some nasty comment that has nothing to do with this show, because people are not expressing themselves. So what they're doing is they're taking it out in other ways. So I think to what you're saying is, in some cases, people are just on autopilot. And I don't think for the most part that people are checking in with what it is that really lights them up, what it is that really excites them. And you have things in your life that excite you. I have things in my life that excite me. But many people don't have that. They're just going through the motions. And so when it comes to AI, it's kind of like, well, let me just have it do whatever it is it can do. In fact, at the conference where I just was speaking, one of the questions was, when we were on this panel, was about having AI write a book for you. So can AI write a book for you? Absolutely. But to your point about the trombone, how will you know what it feels like to actually write a book? And if AI is writing it for you, you didn't actually write it. So are you going to feel comfortable putting your name on that, knowing that all you did was copy and paste and submit? That's not writing a book. And it's not the same feeling. So I feel from what you're saying, it's a much deeper issue where we go back to the same thing, which is people are basically unhappy. And when they're unhappy, and of course I'm generalizing, then they make rash decisions. They express themselves in ways that might not be healthy. They take it out on other people. And we certainly see it all over social media.
Yeah. And unfortunately, it goes back to your point of people being unconscious. They're in zombie mode, right? They just react. They don't check in with themselves. Does this actually make me feel good? And I'm not saying that we will always come across interactions or things that happen in life that is going to go, oh, yeah, I want to do this thing. I mean, there was quite a number of times in my leadership career that I had to have tough conversations with people, or even had to let people go, right? Because they weren't a fit for that organization or that department. And it sucks. It sucks. I don't like it, right? I'm influencing another human's whole trajectory in all likelihood. It sucks. I don't necessarily want to do it, but it isn't a thing that is good for them to stay there, because it's almost like staying in a relationship just because, well, you're comfortable in the relationship and it's okay, right? But you're not happy and the other person's not happy. Why are you doing that? It's a comfort relationship. So that was the same with that specific person that I'm thinking of. It was a comfort relationship in the organization. They're not really contributing. As a matter of fact, there was times when they weren't contributing, and they only came to work because of money. Right? Well, you can get money anywhere, technically. And I would much rather you enjoy what you do and go out and feel enthusiastic about it. And I want to work with people that feels enthusiastic about it. So keeping you won't work either. But for me, it was the checking in how do I have this conversation so that it makes sense for my nervous system, for my way of being, for how I want to show up as a human being, having compassion for another human being going through something that sucks, right? We can do that. We can all do that. It doesn't mean that it's going to be less sucky, but we can at least show up in a way where we aren't ashamed of ourselves, or we don't think to ourselves, oh, I could have done that better. Hopefully we are aware enough to see when that happens. But having it in alignment with how we want to show up, how we want to be as humans in life, and not be a zombie that only use ChatGPT or AI to do everything. I've heard of people even using it so that they can script out difficult conversations.
Very true. Yeah, that's very true. It's a very good point. I think it comes down to something else, which is knowing versus doing. There are many times we actually know and understand. If you think about getting a review, if you're in corporate and maybe you get an annual review, maybe it's 2 times a year, and your superior, your direct, person you report to, will come back with certain things that you need to work on. And you can read the report, you've had the conversation, there are certain things that you need to work on, but do you work on them? No, for the most part, most people will not work on them, because part of what we do is we think, well, I've been getting away with it for this long. Why should I bother changing now? Or maybe I'll be so good in a different area, they won't notice about this area. And it's almost like relationships. And I've heard this time and time again. One partner makes the money, and the money is such that the 2 people, the family, they have a very comfortable life. But just because the person earns the income, that doesn't mean they have no other needs. And so if you think about it, maybe you're the person who's at home and you're taking care of the house, and that's your role. Well, that doesn't mean you don't have any other needs. But yet people will say, oh, she's a homemaker. Oh, he's the one who makes the money. And we don't look at people as humans anymore. It's all about what role we're in and what the value is that it brings to us personally, as opposed to looking back at the other person and saying, okay, tell me what you need.
Yeah. And being able to even express what we need, because we don't tap into what we need.
No.
Right? We get into a situation, then it blows up, and we sort of go, oh crap, what now? Typically, we only start to really look and feel into what it is that we might need once the thing has blown up. Why do we need to do that? We really don't. I know, and I know for myself, that life sometimes do have to give us a bit of a push, especially when we want to be stubborn about things. I'm very guilty of that. So sometimes life does give us a push, but it's also good to learn from your mistakes. See what it is. Where do you need to level up? Where is it that you need to change the way that you interact, the way that you perceive, that might change the experiences that you have? Because we also know that we are the only one that can change our own life. Nobody else is responsible for it. No one. We are the one to change it. We are the one that needs to do the thing that needs to happen so that we can have a different type of experience, regardless the external environment, right? If we don't want to have those experiences in that environment, then remove yourself from it, or make a different type of choice, or look at it in a different way. And then the experience of it would be different. I'm thinking of my cat being bored. So he's bored, and then he throws things off the table. And he does it because he's bored. Now, if I think about it because he's bored, it's like, oh, okay, so you're bored. Let's do something so that you can't be bored. Maybe I play with him for about half an hour or so. Then he's better, right? No problem. Or I can ignore it. So I choose to ignore the fact that he's bored, and he gets more destructive. It is up to me to decide to actually see what's happening, change my perspective of it, and then take the action that I think would be helpful in that case. So I think there's a lot of times that we shun responsibility to other things outside of ourselves without really thinking about what is our own.
I completely agree with you. I just had a conversation with someone who made a decision to do something and it didn't work out the way he wanted it to. And he said, it's actually not his fault. It's actually the other people in his life. It's their fault because they didn't tell him that he shouldn't do whatever it was he was going to do. And I said, okay, let me see if I understand this. You are over the age of 18. You are full-fledged adult, and you made a decision and it didn't work out the way you wanted to, and you knowingly and willingly went ahead with whatever your decision was, and now it's someone else's fault. And when we're looking to blame someone else, we are basically saying, I'm not responsible and I'm not accountable. And so to me, that's part of having emotional intelligence. That's part of having integrity. That's part of being an adult, is you say, you know what? I made the choice and I was wrong, because we all make mistakes. That's part of growing. But if we don't want to say, yes, I'm the one who did it, I'm the one who said it, then we still haven't learned the lesson, and probably more lessons are going to be coming down the road.
Yes. And to your point, Dr. Jacalyn, I mean, we can't fix the other people, right? They may or may not tell us whether this might work. It's not their job to tell us whether this might work. It is our job to figure out whether we want to take the risk or not. And then go, yeah, I'm okay with, if this works, it would be brilliant. And if it doesn't work, I'm fine with it too. Right? If I'm happy with that, go for it. If I'm not happy with that, don't. It's very true. It's as easy as that. And again, going back to the head and the body, right? Potentially, and I have a vague suspicion, but potentially this person's system was trying to tell them, maybe look at this or that. But they didn't listen to it. They didn't even potentially know how to listen to it. They were overriding it with the brain going, oh yeah, this is a great idea, right? So even if there was signals externally or internally, they ignored it like a stop street.
So true. My story that I want to share, which is an add-on to what I've shared before, is, as you know, in August of last year, I was running full force on a treadmill in a class, and I was singing and I was having a great time, and I tripped and I fell off the treadmill, and I went to urgent care, and my arm was in a not a cast, but I forget what it's called. And then I still have, I have a scar over here from wherever it is, from my bracelet going into me. And so it was really traumatizing. And I really believed that it was the sneakers I was wearing. And I told myself, it's these sneakers. I even did a search to find out if other people had tripped wearing these sneakers. And of course, I found that there were tons of stories of people who had tripped wearing these sneakers. And so I stopped running, and I take class probably 5 times a week. And I think it was 2 days ago, I decided to just start running again. But my mind was saying to me, I don't know. Do you really think you should be doing this? You're 63. What if you fall again? And my body was saying, listen, we can do this. We've been running for years. This is not anything new to us. And so I've been running. But today I decided to hold on with one hand because I kept hearing myself saying, one trip and that's it. It could completely wipe you out. So is my body trying to tell me something? Is my mind? Or is it I am afraid because I've already fallen? Is it because I do trip sometimes with my right foot when I walk? For some reason, I might just, and it depends on what shoes I'm wearing as well. So therefore, in this example, I don't know what the answer is. I don't know if it's the mind, because the body is more than capable of doing it and did it. So what are your thoughts on that?
Well, it sounds like the body is also giving you a couple of signals. I trip when I walk from time to time. It might depend on the shoe. It might depend on the surface, right? So I have these occasions where my feet coordination might not be quite what I hope it would be. And I have the same problem. So it doesn't prevent me from running, but it does have, it also makes me a little bit more conscious of what needs to happen around me, right? So do I have shoes that I might, I don't know, some of these new sneakers have very big soles at the bottom. It's annoying because I trip over them, right? The way that I run, I trip over them. So am I using shoes that actually enables me to do this better, or might trip me up? Am I holding on to the side maybe? Because if I do that and I trip, then at least I can hold myself, right? Or if I'm running and it's not on a machine, am I running on grass instead of on the tarmac or whatever? So just looking at what is it that I'm bringing into my environment that helps me, and what is it that I'm bringing into my environment that might hinder me? And then listening to the body. If the body goes, nah, not today, like, okay, maybe I'm tired, right? So the likelihood of me tripping is increased. So I won't run today, but I might run tomorrow or the day after, whatever the case might be. So I think it's a combination of the two. And then there's the old saying of, if you fell off a horse, the best way to ride a horse is to immediately get back on the horse. So there is a little bit of because one of the things that the brain does is it pattern recognizes, right? So it's a wonderful piece of equipment that we have, and it also pattern recognizes. So if something happened before and we got hurt, it will let us know, hey, maybe be careful. So it is there to protect us. It doesn't want us to fall. And because it doesn't want us to fall doesn't mean we shouldn't run. It is just okay, now I need to do a risk assessment. Potentially, Dr. Jacalyn, you mentioned having the scar because you had a bracelet on. It might maybe mean taking some of your jewelry off when you are running so that if I fall, right, I won't have extra injuries. Or when I'm running, I'm holding on to something so I don't fall off the machine and hit my face or whatever the thing is. So it's part of that risk assessment. And checking in with the body, is this enough? And if the body is like, yep, we can still do this, then go for it. If the body is like, I'm not so sure, then go back and check the list.
I agree with you. I think also that the other thing I want to talk about is that sometimes we talk ourselves into something, and sometimes we talk ourselves out of something. And people will use the excuse that they're not feeling up to it or they're not feeling right, but yet they say that all the time because inside there's something going on. There's something that's preventing them from saying, okay, I'm going to take this challenge. And if you think about it, if you were to do research on people who are extremely successful in the world, they take risks. And so when you take a risk, you know that it can be one of several outcomes and they might not be the best ones for you. And it might end up that you're getting hurt. For example, if someone decides to go skydiving, you would think they would take a certain amount of lessons, get certified, or maybe it's what's the scuba diving. And we just saw people who were killed. So there's a certain amount of risk in what it is that we're doing. And I think if we think the reward is high enough, we will accept the risk. So in the example of the treadmill, a treadmill is a tool, but in this case, this class is half treadmill and then half on the floor with weights. And so I really enjoy the class, but when I'm walking up a hill, I know I can do more. And when I'm running now for the last 3 days, I know I can go faster. But I feel safe doing what I'm doing because I still feel the trauma of falling off. And as we get older, it is hard to recover from injuries. So I'm happy to do the treadmill, but at the same time, I'm not going to take it up to 7 miles an hour where I potentially fly off the machine again. And by the way, there's a wall behind me. So you could hit you could be, that's it, man out, done, finished. So I think we have to assess what is the risk of what we're doing versus what is the reward. And one thing I think is interesting, I did some research about this. More injuries occur on treadmills than any other piece of equipment in the gym. So there have been many instances apparently across the world where people have fallen or flown off of a treadmill. So going back to the topic of the day is we might be really interested in doing something and our body doesn't show up to support us in some way because there's some kind of fear.
Yeah, very, very possible that there is something that is preventing us, right? And listening to the body, we can figure that out. But if we don't, we just become a couch potato. And the thing with being a couch potato is that's a risky job too.
That's right. That's right. Yeah. So I wanted to share something else, which is just today, I went to the dermatologist and I had my yearly scan for my skin for skin cancer. And my mother had probably 78 skin cancers, 2 melanomas. My father had a melanoma. So the likelihood of getting skin cancer is high. And so for the last, I would say 10 years, when I do go out in the sun, I'm wearing a huge hat, big sunglasses, long sleeves, and I've had plenty of people make fun of me. I really have. And today, when I walked out of that office, I felt like $1 million because I had no skin cancers. And so to me, it's kind of like your body saying, well, I love the sun. Like we love to be in the sun. When I was a young girl, I would just fry myself out there, put the sun in on my hair. Sometimes we would have like aluminum foil just burning. But you realize as you get older that your body doesn't want that. It doesn't want to be all wrinkled and filled with age spots, where I know there's some people out there who love lying in the sun, but the mind says, listen, we don't want to go out this way. We don't want to have to reverse all the damage that we've been doing. So let's take action so this doesn't happen.
Yeah. And I mean, there's always something about being preventative, right? It's again back to that risk assessment. Well, I can do all of that and I can be a sun baby all the time, but what's the risk to that? Well, the risk is potentially I will get skin cancer. Do I want skin cancer? I don't think so. Personally, I don't. Other people might not be worried about it. It's like, well, I need to die somehow and skin cancer is the thing, that's fine. So it is understanding what is the consequences to the thing that you are choosing, whatever that thing might be, right? And it's not the environment then imposing it on you. I mean, the sun is there all the time. If you go out during the day, even when it's cloudy, the sun is above that, but it is there. The sun is out and you can still burn, even when there's cloud cover. Ask me, I have done that before. Not fun. So understanding what the risks are and what is it that I want to live with. And I think to a degree, we also have, I don't know how you have noticed it in society in general, Dr. Jacalyn, but there is I think, increase for instant gratification. And people do not think about the long-term potential damage or impact that the thing might have.
Absolutely. That is so true, especially when we're in our 20s and 30s, sometimes in our early 40s, we look at it like we're going to be here forever. And then someone we know gets ill, someone dies, maybe we get injured, and all of a sudden our eyes are wide open. It's kind of like, wow, I never thought this was going to happen to me. I remember thinking about people who were in their 80s or their 70s and, oh, I don't want to be an old person. And then all of a sudden it's like you realize that's the only way to go. You don't want to go the other way. And so we have to start looking at what it is we're doing. So while we may say to ourselves, I really want to have that huge piece of steak and those potatoes, and I don't even know what else, I don't eat meat, desserts and drinks, our body's saying, no, we don't want that. And what happens is that after eating that meal, we feel bloated and sick because our body's saying, I have to do all this work now for what you put inside me, for that momentary pleasure. And I think if we move away from just having that pleasure, whatever it might be, for a short amount of time, instead of saying, you know what, I'm going to look at the big picture and the longevity, that would be a completely different outcome for us.
Yeah. Yeah. I think the way that we look at life, the way that we think about how we interact with each other, right, will change if we think about it the way that the Japanese do, from in 100 years, what is it actually that I'm building versus right now, what is it that I'm getting? Because I don't think we think, I mean, yes, life is changing constantly, right? We are seeing the increase for the speed of change, and our systems struggle a little bit to keep pace with all of that. But even with that, change has always been constant. I mean, you from year to year don't stay the same age. You age, right? Things change in your environment. It might not happen every day and it might not be instantaneous. That's normally when we get the bigger shocks, is the more instantaneous changes. But it still happens. Right? That's the only thing that's really constant, is change. So why are we fighting it so much? And how can we be a little bit more sustainable in the way that we potentially approach it and think about it more as a long game instead of what I'm getting out of it right now, right this second? Because that may or may not serve us. And going back to the brain might say yes, but the body, it knows that maybe we shouldn't be doing that. And it's trying very hard to tell us, but of course, we don't listen.
Yes, it's very true. And I believe that our gut is our second brain. So that's where a lot of things start to take place, is internally in our intestines and our digestive system. And when we're not listening to it, trust me, for having ulcerative colitis for 35 years, there's a lot of messages there. And so we have to realize, what are we putting into our body, whether it's genetic, it's hereditary, it's environmental. We still have to take the steps. So our body is telling us something and we need to listen. And Mariska, we are moving closer and closer to the last few minutes of our program. What message would you like to leave with people today on this topic?
So if you have your list sorted out and you think this is a great idea, to Dr. Jacalyn's point, consult your gut. Take a bit of a gut check, right? The brain has already sorted out what it needed to sort out, but just check in with your gut. And I would also say check in with your heart, because between the both of them, your heart will tell you whether it is in value alignment for you, and your gut will tell you whether it is in the rest of the alignment for you. So check in with those two organs. I think you might think, oh yeah, but the brain is the one that does the thinking. They have actually found that there's a lot of receptors in both the heart space as well as the gut space that gives us loads and loads and loads of information. So check in with them and see what the answer is. And if you don't know how to do that, take something heavy, anything heavy around you that you can place in your hand, and just notice the weight in your hand so that you can notice your body, and then check in with them and see what comes up. And then make your decision according to the risk you are willing to take. And that is what I would say is my message for today on this topic.
Thank you so much for that summation. What's a good way for people to reach you? And when people are reaching out to you, what areas do they typically fall in terms of their career or whatever their needs might be?
So let's start with that question first. So typically people that I work with are going through some form of transition. I work with leaders a lot. So when leaders are going through their transitions, it might be that they've already been in their leadership space for quite some time, and they're moving up, or they feel that they're not aligned for some or other reason. They're doing the thing, they're getting the success, but it doesn't feel good, right? So the yes, no comes into that whole conversation as well. I said yes to this thing, but it doesn't feel good. You can contact me when that is the case for you. So that's typically the people that I work with within the leadership space. Or if you are in an environment, maybe you are in an organization and you guys are going through a big change that's really disruptive, I also help in those spaces. And you get hold of me via either my website or my email address. So my website is journey2discover.com. So that is JOURNEY2 discover DISCOVER.com. And my email is Mariska, MARISKA @journey2, again, 2 discover.com. Or alternatively, you can also find me on LinkedIn. So on LinkedIn, it's really easy. You can send me a direct message and we can start our conversation. So there is my profile, nice and easy if you have me on your screen. If you don't and you are listening to one of our podcasts, I'm Mariska du Preez on LinkedIn. Or if you are further than, I think, 2 people removed from me, I will show up as Mariska DU. And that might most probably send you my way, and we can start our conversation.
Thank you, Mariska. I really enjoyed this topic with you today. Another excellent exploration. And I hope that you have a beautiful rest of your day. You can see the sun is starting to set across my face here. So as you're starting your day and I'm closing my out, I'm not done yet, but it's been a real delight and pleasure to have you here today.
Well, I always enjoy our conversations and look forward to our next one next week.
Absolutely. The weeks just keep flying by. It's hard to believe.
They do.
Anyway, I wish you the best. Go in peace, and we will chat soon.
Thank you. Bye for now.
Bye. If you happen to be watching on YouTube, we'd love to have you join our community. We also have a membership only option where you can get first introduction to some of the things that we're doing here. And all of our shows are in playlists, which makes it very easy to find. So our YouTube channels are USA Global TV and Radio and Dr. Jacalyn Kerbeck. We are actively looking for people who speak languages other than English to come aboard and join us as TV show hosts. We offer training. The only requirement is that you are coachable, and you are capable of taking coaching. And of course, terms and fees do apply. But if you think you have what it takes, take a look. And the information on how to contact us is right here in this clip.
Hey, you. Psst. Yes, you. Watching this right now. Are you creating content, a blog, a podcast, a newsletter, going live on Instagram or TikTok, and still not seeing real visibility or growth? Here's why. Anyone can post. Anyone can go live, but not everyone is positioned to be taken seriously. Right now, people are going to YouTube to search for experts, for answers, for credibility. So while you're putting in the work, someone else is being seen as the authority. Not because they know more, because they're positioned better. Now imagine this. Your own professionally produced TV show, marketed, distributed, optimized with SEO so people can actually find you. Not just seen, but searchable, discoverable, positioned. You're trained, you're coached, you're guided. No experience necessary, but you do have to be coachable, because this is about stepping into a higher level. This isn't about doing more, it's about doing it right. We've already built the platform, 2 YouTube channels, a global audience, a Silver Creator Award. So the question is, how much longer are you going to rely on temporary visibility when you could be building real authority? If you're ready to be seen differently, go to usaglobaltv.com and apply to host your own show. This is for individuals who are serious about investing in their visibility, their credibility, and their growth. If that's you, we're ready. USA Global TV and Radio, where your voice becomes your platform. Executive producer, Dr. Jacalyn Kerbeck. Videographer, Paul Garcia. Voiceover, Ed Vargas. All rights reserved. This production is the exclusive property of the USA Global TV and Radio and may not be reproduced, distributed, or used without written permission.
USA Global TV and Radio proudly presents Tracy Cram-Perkins, a dementia caregiving survivor teaching how to balance care with peace of mind. #1 resource for dementia caregivers. It's the book Dementia Home Care: How to Prepare Before, During, and After. Over 17,000 copies sold of this must-have guide. And now a testimonial from Tracy Smith.
If I was to describe this book to someone who is going through a similar situation, I would underscore how important it is to have some sort of a tool or a guidebook to help you through certain stages. And there's so many, it's such an unknown topic to the average person. And to have this as a reference is essential. It's going to help you get through it personally, as well as help your loved one manage.
To learn more, go to tracycramperkins.com. Tracy Cram-Perkins is an award-winning author. She's also the host of Dementia Home Care television show. Watch it here on USA Global TV and Radio.
Thank you, viewers and listeners of USA Global TV and Radio, for joining us today. We're honoured to have your time and attention as part of our global community. At USA Global TV and Radio, we believe in the power of authentic conversations, meaningful connections, and creating a world of possibilities together. Want to be part of something bigger? Join our team of elevated listeners at usaglobaltv.com, a space where your voice matters and your ability to listen transforms relationships. Stay connected with us across all our platforms for thought-provoking discussions, expert insights, and empowering stories. Subscribe to our channels at youtube.com/c/USA Global TV. Follow us on social media and explore the endless opportunities we're creating for growth, learning, and inspiration. Together, we're not just broadcasting, we're building bridges and changing lives one conversation at a time. For inquiries, contact us at info@usaglobaltv.com. Produced by Executive Producer and Director Dr. Jacalyn Kerbeck. Voiceover by Mike Porter. Creative direction by Paul Garcia. All rights reserved. Visit usaglobaltv.com to view our full terms and conditions.